Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Hello Animorphs fans and welcome back to the Animorphs Reviews YouTube channel. We're doing another podcast drink today. And it's another one with the changed rules. And today we're looking at Centipedes and Slugs. Okay, so if I just, I think... Okay, so I'm going to read the description for the podcast. Join Maddie, a Yerk sympathiser, and Lydia, a Taxon enthusiast, as they explore each book in K.A. Applegate's Animorphs series. Do you like deep dive character analysis? We've got that. Do you like learning cool, weird, and downright horrifying things about animals and nature? We've got that too. And I'm going to be looking at episode 7, The Stranger. Now, this was a short-lived podcast, unfortunately. It operated in 2020 and didn't get past episode 8. However, I still encourage you to show support to Maddie and Lydia. So if you like what you hear today, go check out their podcast. I will leave a link in the description. Who knows? Maybe someday they'll carry it on. But even if not, then we still got the first 8 books to listen to them talking about. I've got my version of The Stranger here. So just in case anything jumps out, I'll be there on hand. And I chose this one because I've just done The Stranger TV episode with Raptor. This is also the book that my wife is currently reading. Yeah? What? You're currently reading this one? Yeah, she's currently reading that one. So I thought it was a good time to do this one. And it's an interesting book. And Maddie and Lydia. So Maddie's a Yerk enthusiast, I think that's what it was. And no. Yerk sympathiser, and Maddie's a Taxon enthusiast. Hence the name Centipedes and Slugs. I'm interested, so let's hear what they have to say. Firstly, let's go over the forfeits. I'm drinking pretty bog standard lager today, Excelsior. Forfeits are modern political issues, 2 fingers, character traits, 1 finger, TV show criticism, 4 fingers, 90s reference, 3 fingers, movie talk, 2 fingers, author mention, 1 finger, something wrong, 2 fingers, naughty talk, 2 fingers, podcast name, 1 finger, and if cinnamon buns are mentioned, then I have to do the wild drink, which again today, because I didn't end up drinking it last time, is Brewdog's Layer Cake, Marshmallow and Chocolate Stout, which sounds utterly gopping, doesn't it? So, it does not sound delicious. You're wrong, woman. Goddamn American. Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, goddamn Americans. Back me up there. So yeah, that's what happens. If they say cinnamon buns, I have to do the extra drink. And the way this show goes now is that basically I say how long it takes me to get through 4 drinks. That's basically it, unless the wild beer is thrown in which case it's 5. Anyway, less twiddling. Let's whittle on. Let's go.
My name is Lydia.
Lydia?
My name is Maddie.
Maddie's the Yerk sympathiser.
And you know the drill.
Do I?
We're not going to tell you our last names.
Oh.
We're not going to tell you where we live. We'll tell you all we can because you need to know what's going on. You need to know what's happening. But we need to stay alive. And if the Yerks knew who we were, we would be dead.
Okay.
People look up at the stars at night and wonder what it would be like if creatures from another planet ever landed on Earth. Well, you can stop wondering.
Shit.
It's happened. The Yerks are parasites. They live in the brains of other species. Humans, for example. They turn human beings into mindless slaves, human controllers. My name is Liz.
Oh wait, I paused it and it went away. That's wrong. Where are we?
One might be a controller.
For some reason, I pressed pause and it reset, but it doesn't turn you into a mindless slave because your mind is still there. That's technically something wrong, which is 2 fingers. Drink.
You might be a controller.
Nice little tune.
Welcome to another episode of Centipedes and Slugs.
Podcast name, 1 finger.
Animorphs podcast. Some might say an Animorphs podcast.
Some, it means me.
We'll see how long we keep this joke going.
I want to milk it till it has nothing left. I want it to be a husk.
Milk it dry.
A husk of itself.
A desiccated husk.
I do that with jokes all the time, to be fair.
And some might be asking, why Centipedes and Slugs? Well, it's because
Podcast name,
we
one finger.
here at Centipedes and Slugs are
Wow,
pro
Centipedes
Yerk.
and Slugs headquarters.
Do I count it for every
Centipedes
time they
and Slugs
say
are
it?
us.
Technically, so it's two fingers.
Are pro Yerk and pro.
And I missed one earlier. So every time they say it, it counts. So I have to drink another 3 fingers. That's this. Usually these podcasters, they mention their name at the start and then that's it. It's a 1 finger per video thing. But I've had to drink 4 fingers already for a podcast name, so. Whew, let's go.
Pro taxon, and we're not gonna apologize for it.
We are never apologizing. God, there was some taxon abuse in this book.
Yeah,
I tell
it
you
really
what.
was.
Poor taxon. He just wanted a little snack.
Oh,
You didn't have to do him dirty
Cockroach
like
is
that.
a perfectly natural thing for a taxon.
I mean, honestly, it's better than a human body. You know?
The taxon
He
didn't know.
didn't know. Why did he have to die?
This is going to be
But
interesting.
we're getting ahead of ourselves. So
dear.
this week we're discussing the 7th book in the Animorphs series, The Stranger.
The Stranger.
And this is a doozy of a
It's
book.
a book, all right.
My opinion on this book, it was all right. I think the Rachel backstory stuff just didn't work quite as intended. Apart from that, it was pretty average.
Yeah. We meet one of my favorite people in
And
the
by
entire
favorite,
Animorphs
Maddie
universe.
means
meet God.
it's complicated. The Facebook relationship status is complicated.
It's not hate. It's very complicated. I've evolved
Complicated.
past my hatred, but
Yeah, no, but I was there too at one point. I was like, ugh, the Deus Ex Machina again. Really?
I know.
To be fair, I groan a lot when that happens.
Sir,
And it happens
yeah.
too
Sir
much.
or madam or all.
Or it's true. We really do, or all. I like that.
The Elemist is all genders. I spoiled it.
Yeah, so it's funny because the last episode we were speculating because they Krayak appears though not by name, and we were wondering like, oh wait, how long does it take for the elements to show up? And
I never thought about that. The fact that the Cry appears before Elmis. I don't know. It's just interesting to know. And well, the next book essentially. So yeah, jammed them in right next to each other. Funny how that happens.
Right in the next book. Here he is.
Yep. All right, so I
Give us that
will
summary.
Dive into as condensed a
excited.
plot summary as possible. Here we go.
Let's do it.
So this book begins with Rachel clearly not having learned any lessons about
Nope.
Animorphs secrecy.
God bless her.
Long story short, Rachel is mad when she sees a circus trainer mistreat his elephants, and she decides to morph into an elephant and threaten him using thought speech.
The elephant police.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh,
Borderline
God.
character trait here.
And clearly Jake and the gang are too distracted to really reprimand her the next day because Marco and Tobias have some intel. They have figured out that there is another entrance to the...
We've sort of dipped on the verge of 2 character traits there. Rachel's impulsiveness wasn't quite there, and Jake reprimanding, implying leadership. It's again, it adds up to 1. So drink 1 finger, everybody. Unless you're Medibollocks, in which case your forfeit is to email everybody you know called Sarah and accidentally call them Debbie.
the main Yerk pool through a dressing room
Drink.
in the Gap in the mall, because this is the 90s.
The Gap. Is the Gap still around?
90s reference, 3 fingers. Christ, we've already gone through 1 drink.
I believe Gaps. I think those are still around. I wouldn't remember what it's like to go
JCPenney's
shopping.
isn't, right? Because I mentioned that in this book, and I was like, that sounds
Yeah,
so familiar,
I-
like a forgotten memory.
Yeah, I think JC.
5 minutes in, a quarter of the way through my drinks.
Penny's has gone the
It
way
bodes
of
well.
Borders and at all other department
Blockbuster.
stores. Yeah, Blockbuster. Yeah.
Except
but
for
yeah,
one in Alaska. One Blockbuster in Alaska, apparently.
Wow.
I hope you like on my screen. I've got Jake and Chapman both falling over. That's what this show is all about. What I'm doing here. That's how I end up at the end of each of these episodes. So that's why they're there. I hope you enjoy them. And tell me which one's your favourite, the Jake fall or the Chapman fall?
Thanks, Alaska? Question mark. While no one is really eager to try and attack the Yerk pool again, the group settles on the idea of attacking the source of the Yerk pool's power, the Kandrona.
Kandrona.
Yep.
That was the beams radiating.
Yes.
I speak wood.
You speak woods goods. Meanwhile,
good banter.
Rachel goes home to find that her dad is unexpectedly joining them for dinner as a reminder.
See, this one was when I watched the TV show recently with Wrapped, it was relatively close, with a few major disappointing differences.
Rachel's parents are divorced.
This whole
She
storyline is in
learns
there.
that her dad is moving out of state for another job, and he wants Rachel, but not Rachel's younger sisters, just
Nope, just
Rachel
Rachel.
to move with him. Rachel is immediately angry at her dad for, I think, justifiable reasons.
Yeah.
And she flies out to see Tobias, but despite the fact that Tobias can tell something is wrong, Rachel refuses to tell him about her dad and instead flies off alone at night to the gardens to acquire a grizzly bear morph for the upcoming mission. Just Rachel things.
Is that character
Just
trait?
Rachel things. She just goes right in there, doesn't she?
Yeah, there we go. That's pushes it over to the edge for a character trait forfeit. Yes. Drink, my dear. If you're female, drink double, and if you're male, drink triple. Drink.
Touches
really
the bear. I like how chill the bear was. The bear was like, I mean,
this might as well.
I'm a bear.
It's that John Mulaney quote from, I don't remember which special it is, where you're like, you ever have one of those days where you think, this might as well just happen? So then the Animorphs, Sans, Tobias all arrive at the mall separately.
I like how you pronounce Sans.
Sans.
It's my
I've never heard it
long
pronounced
crop
that
of
way.
vowel A or something.
I usually just say Sans.
Sans.
Sans, like a dirty peasant.
So they all arrive at the mall separately.
That's how I say
Sans Tobias to sneak into the Yerk pool while in cockroach morph. Once inside, all seems lost when they are slurped up by a taxon on his sticky tongue.
They just have aardvark tongues or anteater
Oh,
tongues.
yeah.
Like
They do have long tongues.
All of
which is
them,
kind of cute.
Yeah,
Honestly,
it is.
cute.
I was very enchanted by that description.
But like, how do they keep it from snagging on the teeth?
I got to remember that these two are Yerk and Taxon enthusiasts, so I've got to keep that in the back of my mind here.
There must be a shaft through which the tongue goes to protect it.
That does seem like that would be a wise design plan.
I did not draw the tongue because I always thought it was stupid that they have a weird long tongue, but now I need to draw the tongue. I just finished drawing the cover art, everyone, in this episode.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. It's not...
I will say you've done a good job of that cover. It's better than anything I could do. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Good stuff. I don't know where you got the... Where did you get... I think it might be the same font that I've got. Because I know that somewhere out there it's called Escafil font. Somewhere you can download the Animorphs font, which is always fun.
Not a big deal. I made it. It's fine. Don't compliment me.
Oh, where was I? So yes, slurped up by the anteater taxon tongue. All of them begin to demorph involuntarily, and when they are back to their regular bodies, they realize that time is standing still, and that Tobias is there too in his human body, which he is very unused to at this point.
Tobias is there. He does try to fly away when Rachel comes at him with a powerful, shall I say, bear hug.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you shall.
I'm sorry, but my dear, if a joke is worse than one of my normal jokes, do I have to drink?
It'd be hard to do.
You reckon how many fingers?
Do they joke a lot?
No, it's just one. 2 fingers, right? Okay. I'm sorry, Lydia and Maddie, but I can't let you off that. I can't let you do worse jokes than I make, and that's a bloody standard. 2 fingers, everyone. I like it. Yeah, it's all banter. That's an excuse for 2 fingers of drink.
Axe figures out, or correctly guesses, rather, that this is the doing of what he says is an Elemist, though really we sort of learned that there's just the Elemist.
Just the one.
This is where it gets funny now. Because it's bordering on a something wrong forfeit, because of how weird the Elemist is. He isn't one person or one being, but he is, and he's able to place himself in different places to be, multiple beings. So, if I were to talk about the Elemist, I'd say, in a way, there's one. In a way, but that one is in sub-parts. So, the fact that Lydia and Maddie are saying, there's just one, I'm going to count that. Something wrong is typically 2 fingers, but I'm going to drink 1 finger for that one. Unless you're not me, in which case you're drinking 2. So, me drink 1, the rest of you drink 2.5.
I know of.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, the Elemist, who is a godlike eldritch being.
And Oterlu 20 press-ups.
Who then appears to the Animorphs in a form that they will comprehend.
It's blue.
Yeah. In the TV show, it's just a blue holographic dude, but yes, the Elemist is.
He's the illustration on the cover of the Elemist, of that old elf man. Oh, I just realized.
Did you just put something
together? As I was saying it, I realized it. Yep. That's why the cover has that picture.
Nah, the cover. The guy in the TV show who plays the Elemist is just some guy. He looks like he's just like a lawyer or something in a robe. Fancy dressed lawyer. Whereas on the front cover of the Elemist Chronicles, he looks like something out of Lord of the Rings. You've got the massive pointy ears and the claw-like fingers. And yeah, they're completely different.
That makes more sense.
We're all learning.
They were cowards, though. They didn't try to draw the original form. Cowards.
I agree. I totally agree. I think it's the same with the Visser, that book. For intents and purposes, we'll call it the Visser Chronicles. So the Visser Chronicles and the Elemist Chronicles could both have had better cover art. It's nice cover art, and what they've done with it, they've done a good job. But the Visser Chronicles has a picture of Visser 3 on the front when 95% of it is about Visser 1. So it needed something else on the front cover. And the Elemist Chronicles, he has this strange elfin human form thing. When he was in that... He wasn't even really in that body ever in the book. So yeah, they should have done something else, but hey-ho. At least with Visser Chronicles, I understand, right, people are going to know Visser 3, the Andalite form is intimidating, put that on the front cover, whereas if you just put, like, Eva, people are like, what's that all about? But the Elmus Chronicles, some elf-looking guy that doesn't even look like Animorphs. Why did they choose that? I'm not too sure, but somebody somewhere knows.
Well, yes, we could talk more about that
Didn't have
in our Elemis deep dive.
Sure,
where
yeah.
was I? Yeah, so the Elemis says that he cannot
I will say, if Maddie or Lydia ever see this, I think you do a good job here. And I know you stopped in 2020, but I'd like to see you do some more of this. You got some good chemistry going on here, and you do some good content. You know, it's a good laugh. It's a good laugh. I know I said, oh, you did a really bad joke, but I love bad jokes. I love it. I love bad jokes. So I'll yeah. Even though there's only been the one bad joke so far, or what I'd consider bad joke, which basically means really bad, because my standard is low, right? So, make of that what you will.
intervene to save Earth directly, but he very much wants to. He tells them that Earth will succumb to the Yeerks, and so he offers the Animorphs a choice to be whisked away to a separate new planet, along with select Earth species and a few of their closest friends and family.
You know,
Yeah,
in the
or
bag.
or suffer their inevitable defeat, essentially. When Jake and Rachel notice a drop shaft, like in the area in the Yerk pool that they're in, that will be able to help them escape, the group consensus eventually is to reject the Elemis offer, and they are snapped back into the Taxon's mouth. This time they demorph of their own volition, and Axe kills this taxon from within
No
with his
reason.
tail.
No reason.
I mean,
That taxon had a mind. It had feelings. It probably had a family.
I think this is clearly facetious.
I mean, yeah. I guess. I mean, debatably, I misremembered that Axe cuts them out. I thought that just choosing to demorph was gonna kill the taxon maybe anyways, because I thought they were gonna burst out at him.
Yeah, I mean they
Alien
would have.
style.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you're talking to me or them. You're talking to them.
Yeah.
I was just making sure.
One 12-foot worm to take. Even a big boy, a big old boy, a chunky boy.
Yeah. Poor R.I.P. this taxon.
Yeah. Never named, never remembered.
To be fair, how many taxons were named? I know you've got Arbron, but apart from... And he's a Nothlit, so he doesn't count. Were there any named taxons in the series? I don't believe there ever were.
Oh, so sad.
I know.
In the fight to escape, Rachel morphs the grizzly bear, but quickly loses control of the morph, almost attacking and killing Jake, who is morphed as a tiger in the process.
Now, looking back, I do find that quite interesting, because when I did my reread and I read this book, it didn't seem that big of a deal that she attacked Jake, but as you progress through the series, there's this thing between Rachel and Jake, and then Cryet gets involved and shit goes mad. Unfortunately, the series didn't take full advantage of that, in which case this book would have seemed more relevant. Of course it's relevant, but in that regard, the whole Rachel versus Jake thing. And when I come round to doing a series on how we could have improved the Animorphs series, how we could have changed things to make things more consistent and more impactful, then that's something I can touch on.
Rachel is confronted by her mom the next morning, who has observed her erratic behavior as of late.
Touching bears, going out and touching bears. That's erratic.
So this impulsiveness, erraticness, yeah, that's one finger. Unless you're subscribed to this channel, in which case... Take a pencil and balance it on your nose for exactly 2.34 seconds. I'll allow you to use your phone. And drink your finger. Drink!
It's what all the naughty teens are
Yeah.
up to in the 90s. After her mom leaves for work, Rachel decides to skip school, overwhelmed by the unfair decisions she's had to deal with in the past few days.
Yeah.
She spends her afternoon morphed as an eagle flying around. When she meets up with the rest of the Animorphs, they each try to get her to open up while she
judge
initially
her.
lashes out. Certainly. I mean, yes, they do judge her, though they also are... They know that there's something she's not telling them, and she initially lashes out.
Yeah. And then she had well, go on. You're the summarizer.
Yes. So
Both doing a pretty good
while
job of
she initially
summarizing.
lashes out, she eventually tells them about the situation with her dad, and like that stress, and that combined with that, how she sort of now is regretting saying no to the Ellimist's offer. No sooner has she said this than, surprise, the Ellimist pops up to whisk them away to what turns out to be the future.
And they find
or a future,
the teacher.
let's say.
You're spoiling
Everyone...
it. Spoiled the ending. Spoiled the ending.
This is a spoiler heavy. Oh, I see what you don't like, the order in which I revealed.
Yeah, I mean it's whatever. It's not a big deal. Don't
Alright.
even.
By the way, I think it was Mehdi who said, because while they're talking about this bit, it reminds me of book 41. Because Animorphs Anonymous did... Well, right. I did a podcast drink video to Animorphs Anonymous, who were doing a review of book 41, in which they talk about the comparison to book 7, which reminds me of book 7, which is what we're talking about here, which makes me remember the thing, right? So, where the bloody hell was I? I've just confused myself into mind oblivion. They were... Oh yeah, what I was going to say is, Mehdi said, you should do part 2 of looking at Animorphs Anonymous, because I got about halfway through that episode before I finished my drinks. And I do want to do another Animorphs Anonymous, because they recently put out, at least on YouTube, they put out episode 47, which is my favourite book of the series. I do want you to recommend me podcasts to watch. Mehdi, if you want me to see the second half of their review of 41, Animorphs Anonymous that is, post that in the comment today, and considering you would have posted that twice, I'll say, all right then, I will do that second half of that episode. If you want me to do another podcast or another episode of theirs, yeah, I'm open to suggestions. Suggest to me. Preferably not the ones that are going to get me absolutely obliterated if you know that one's going to have so many forfeits. Well, then you can suggest it if you want.
Even mind me, it doesn't hurt my feelings. It's fine.
Anyway,
No mention of cinnamon buns, by
everyone
the way.
is bummed that it looks like the Yerks won and have taken over the entire town.
Bummed is a good adjective.
It gets worse when they meet Visser 3, who's now been promoted to Visser 1, and an older Rachel, who is
that
now
does
a
happen.
controller.
That part came true. He does eventually get promoted to
part
Visser
did
1.
come true.
That's what
Yes.
I'm saying. Yeah, and there's also an older Rachel who is now a controller, as apparently all the rest of the Animorphs except for Tobias.
She nasty. She nasty, man.
Yeah. After a fight is about to ensue, the Ellimist finally whisks them out of there, and the group collectively decide to accept the Ellimist's original offer. However, nothing happens. Rachel and
Trying to remember this
Cassie
book in my head
later
now.
try to figure out why the Ellimist hasn't taken them to the new planet yet, reasoning that he must not really want them to make that choice.
Because
It
he's
finally
playing
clicks
silly
for
games. He's playing
Rachel
silly
that
buggers.
each time the Ellimist took them somewhere, he allowed them to see something that would help them on their mission, and she realizes that she's able to deduce the location of the Candrona in the present time, because it was in the same...
Yeah, it is a weird book in hindsight, isn't it? It's just the Ellimist playing silly buggers with the Animorphs. That's all this book is. And a weird Rachel divorced family side plot.
place. And gathers up...
Well, she realizes something else in the vision too, right? About.
I will say, by the way, the forfeits have slowed down
She
considerably.
realizes that in the vision, the future Rachel talks about 6 humans and does not expect to see Axe.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the little wrinkle.
Little
in time.
tiny
in
whiny
time.
wrinkle.
Get it? In
time. So she gathers up the rest of the group so they can go destroy the Cantrona. One of the few things they managed to successfully do on a mission.
This is like the
Very
first time they do
successful
anything
mission.
successfully.
Although the Elemist will not confirm if this action changes the course of their future definitively, they do know that this will set the Yerks back quite a bit temporarily. And that's a story for another day, as they say.
Or book.
Book, rather.
Yeah.
Later, Rachel sees her dad off, having told him obviously that she's not moving with him, and they say goodbye, and then she goes to fly with Tobias, and that's how the book ends. Woo.
Good summary.
There is no Planet B, Elemist. God.
I like the summary format of cover things very quickly, but go on interesting little tangents on the way. I like that.
Well, no, I was taking notes as I was reading, and I originally had a whole angry,
furious scribbling
about it, and then I was like, oh, he was just a liar on purpose. Okay, fine. I forgot about these tricks of his.
Yeah, well, I remember that he didn't want them to make that choice. I remember that. And I remember the thing about the future being slightly off than the reality, kind of as a clue.
But yeah, I forgot that it's blatantly not just, oops, you did choose that choice, but I don't want you to choose the choice.
I was like, grow the fuck up, Elemist. You made this mistake, now deal with it.
Rachel.
Yes, I imagine this is where we're going to get into the deep dive stuff. I'm looking forward to this.
Rachel. She's her typical Rachel, although she does have a breakdown in this book.
I'm waiting for the character trait.
I was gonna wait. I feel like I have a note about that. Yeah, no, I like that. Maybe I didn't write. Clearly, I didn't write this down. I was just thinking of it. Yeah, I mean, I like that because I think we've talked before that I think what is interesting about Rachel is that I feel like a lot of the times where you get the trope of the strong Amazon Xena woman character, I feel like usually it's drawn more like Buffy Summers from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where they sort of are they know that they have a duty and they fight, but they are still sort of reluctant about it. Whereas the distinguish with Rachel is that she does very much enjoy that she has this power.
An adrenaline junkie, basically.
Character trait. That's it. Adrenaline junkie, impulsiveness. Same thing. That's one finger. Drink away.
She would go rock climbing and do dangerous drugs.
Yeah, exactly. But that I do like that even this early on. I mean, and again, I mean, maybe it's also a tracking of how desensitized does Rachel become over the course of the series, but that we get this moment early on where she even directly confronts the no, I'm not just an unfeeling warrior princess or something. I'm still vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
When she has that moment, I appreciated that.
Yeah. She is.
I also appreciated that in that bit. I think it's they describe that Marco's sort of doing his Xena thing to her, but it says that Marco's saying it kindly. So I also appreciated that it's actually you know what I mean? It's they all kind of understand.
So everyone is kind of concerned for her, but I think it is very Rachel the way so instead of kind of sitting down and thinking through the problem, her method is to push it away by doing very stupid action.
That's impulsiveness again. Character trait. Hey, Tiggles. That cat's lovely. Time to fill up on another drink. Drink number 3.
Like
Halfway
touching
through.
a bear.
So to me, I think the most interesting thing that I feel like picked up about Rachel in this book, or specifically like Rachel and Cassie's relationship. It's like the friction between Rachel and the rest of the group in this book, like sort of at this point in their mission, can kind of be chalked up to Rachel's general personality as it's been established, but it's also like very heightened by the stressful situation that she's in her personal life as combined
as well as her
the
work,
Animorph life,
her job.
Exactly, work-life balance is so hard. And
That's is Animorphs one of the little sub themes? Is it about work-life balance? That's a theme for a video, isn't it? Is Animorphs partly about work-life balance? Because a lot of the series focuses on, oh, I've got to do this shit where I'm fighting freaking aliens and all that bollocks. And then I've got to come back and do my chores and my own work, you know. Is that part of the theme going on? How they come back home, they're exhausted, but they still get the fucking thing done. I mean, when I come home from work and the place is an absolute state, I clean it up.
What's a state?
Nothing, my dear.
Your attitude's a state.
My attitude's a state, is it? Well, Tish and Pish.
Drink a finger.
Drink a finger, what for?
For being a state.
I'm not a state.
You are a state.
Well, alright, which state am I? Ohio?
Northern Florida.
Kansas?
Northern Florida.
Northern Florida isn't a state.
Well, the northern part of the state.
Well, that's not a state then, is it?
It's a dumpster fire.
Apples and oranges, my dear.
It's a dumpster fire.
You're a dumpster fire.
Excuse me?
I mean, you're on fire because you're really hot. You're so hot that you've burst into flames.
What's the proper one of that?
She just swore at me. That's it, filing for divorce. And then I'll take you to court and I'll win just like Johnny Depp just did. And you'll do nothing about it.
No one will believe you. You're a man. Just kidding. That's what she said.
Well, define man. Without offending people. Good luck. You can't do it, can you?
Without offending someone? No.
Without offending someone? No, exactly. Right, I've won that challenge. Where the fuck was I going? What were we talking about?
You drinking because you're cringe.
I'm drinking because I'm cringe. Right, how many fingers do I owe?
Just drink one.
Just one? Okay, fair enough.
I'm feeling you're going to be cringe throughout the whole video.
I'm not going to be cringe throughout the whole video. You're cringe. You're the cringe. You can't handle the cringe.
It does, and so like it's like a friction that they're all kind of able to get through and like come together on. But it does definitely set up friction that's going to like return as a theme. And I think it was very
This
notable
book does
that
set up
even
a lot.
again this early on.
Yeah, I will give this book credit, and I probably didn't at the time because obviously I was doing the reread and I can't, talk about stuff that happens after this. But looking back at it, it does set up a few things. It does. And it does a fairly good job of it. It's just done in a rather bland way, I find.
It's like the quote, like Rachel perceives like Cassie like giving her a look. It's like she's ashamed of me. And I'm curious on this reread if like the tracking of like her and Cassie's like relationship as best friends, because it feels like it's clear because of the fact that they were best friends before this. They sublimate a lot of their obvious ideological conflict for a lot of the book. It's like
Yeah.
when they yell at each other, it's kind of like they don't yell at each other as much,
No.
even though clearly they're very much on opposite sides.
Well, Cassie
Or
even
not
even
opposite
keeps
side,
quiet
yeah.
for her about, or like she keeps quiet that Cassie was there. Cassie kind of joins in on some of the risky behavior because it still
Yeah.
aligns to her values in some ways.
Right. And so I guess I kind of can't remember if there's like a specific point where that kind of hits a boiling point, or like specifically I'm like, I don't remember how Rachel reacts to all the Aftran stuff.
I think they kind of drift apart as the series go on. I don't think there was a flashpoint, but I might not be remembering. But yeah, it's definitely sad in these early books to see them communicating that well and kind of, you know, doing the best friend thing.
Yeah.
I did love the interaction at the Gap where she was like, "That girl does not know how to shop."
Trying to get fluffy.
Well, neither do I, Rachel.
Sorry.
But see, right, even though Cassie doesn't know how to shop, she's still her best friend. Still loves her.
Friend.
But yeah, no, I definitely, like, I had that, it was just in this book it occurred to me, I'm like, wow, like, yeah, I was like, even early on of, like, perceiving, like, there's...
By the way, if while I've been distracted by Fluff McKitty down there was a forfeit, just remind me and I'll save it for next time.
There's been such a change in, or like, maybe it's not definitely a change, because clearly Rachel's always been sort of a assertive, go after, like, what she wants person, but she hasn't had, you know, weapons before, and so, you know.
She did more, like, grr, sports.
Yeah, exactly. And so that Cassie's already, like, uncomfortable with it on the inside, but not necessarily going to be like, let's get into a fight about her right now, because there's bigger fish to fry.
There's stuff and things.
Yeah. And then also this book has some other interesting stuff, I think, in the sort of ongoing analysis of, again, how sort of Rachel's like femininity, or like Rachel as sort of like, she's a tough warrior, but she still likes to shop, and sort of that dichotomy, and like the interesting line where like it seems like she's always been a little closer to her dad, because her dad sort of like encouraged that like sports raw like side of her, and basically, and like had said is like, well, she's just as good as any boy, like, I don't need a son. And the mom was like, girls don't want to hear that, and then Rachel's being like, yeah, maybe it's kind of sexist, but I did want to hear it. I liked it.
I liked it.
Which is interesting.
We're covering a lot of Rachel traits here, I know, but the Rachel trait that I've got as the forfeit is specifically impulsiveness, so I can't drink to every character trait.
It's interesting in the reading of like how girls like
save themselves.
Yeah, and like the qualities that are right. It was
I would get that too. Like I would be like, women are equal, but I'd also be like, it's nice that I am masculine. The masculine traits are the positive ones.
Yeah, and so I thought that was interesting, because I kind of didn't remember that part about
Is that modern political issues? And I wouldn't say so, because this sort of stuff's been going on for a long time. It's not really a thing now, so I wouldn't call it a modern political issue.
Just finding these little bits to dissect.
Yes.
Little interesting bits.
And side note, I forget like what other appearances Rachel's dad makes, because obviously in this one he ends up moving.
He appears in book 32. I know that much.
Out of
and it's a complete waste of an appearance.
Stage, but I really didn't like her dad. I thought he was being a real selfish dude, which
he was
is
being
not
kind of immature.
Yeah, not uncommon. I think obviously in a divorce situation, but right, or like not uncommon for sometimes, like parents in a divorce situation and their own needs perhaps at the
I mean, my parents are divorced. So I wouldn't say it was anything near as bad. Was it bad? Is what's her dad's name? I know Rachel's mother is Naomi. What was the dad called again? What was his name again? Christ. I'm number one Animorphs fan. I should know this. I might lose my crown, my dear.
You might.
Oh, my crown is slipping off my head. Now, Medi Bollocks is the number one Animorphs fan. Screw you, Medi Bollocks. Ooh, I'm number one Animorphs fan. Well, whatever the fuck. You don't talk to me. I'm too cool for school. Didn't you know? I don't need to know.
Roger, is it?
No. Roger? No. It's not Roger. I don't think there's any Roger in this book series. Because I know that Jake's dad is Steve Berenson. Marco's is Peter. Cassie's is Walter. Forget what Axe's dad is called. I know that he gets named at some point. What's Rachel's dad's name again? Barry? Something like that. Oh, my crown has gone. Medi's got it. Damn it. Okay then. If you are wearing the crown of number one Animorphs fan, drink 5 fingers. Got you there.
The greater than their children's needs. But yeah.
Was that cringe? How many fingers? How many fingers?
1.
1, okay. 1 finger for my cringe. And everyone else drinks 1 finger too for my cringe.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that. I was like, right, Rachel has these younger sisters. I'm like, you want to...
Dan. Well, he was irrelevant anyway. His name was Dan.
I was just so flabbergasted by the whole...
Let's face it, have there been any famous Dans in history? Dan...
Danny DeVito.
He's not famous. Nobody knows who Danny DeVito is. Stop being cringe, my dear.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe. What was he in?
Harry Potter. He played Harry
What
Potter.
the hell's a Parry Hotter? What's that?
Shut up, Ted.
Plus, that's Daniel. It's not Dan. It's Daniel. And it's not Dan DeVito. It's Danny DeVito. Name a famous Dan.
Dan Rather.
Who?
Dan Rather.
He'd rather what? She married me. She wanted this. And now she's getting the full Adam load. Don't sigh at me. Do I need to drink
What
another...
about Daniel Craig?
Who? Again, it's another Daniel. We're talking Dan. D-A-N.
Has to be D-A-N.
Delta Alpha November.
Dan Marino was that football player. Dan Aykroyd?
What did he do? Dan
An
Aykroyd.
actor.
What did he play? Is he as famous as Paolo Costanzo?
I don't know.
Clearly not. Name a famous Dan, and if you can't, drink 4 fingers.
I just said a bunch.
But you failed. I don't know any of them. And if I don't know them, they can't be famous. Do I drink fingers for cringe? Okay. Finger for cringe.
Yeah, and how
them
old
up.
is she at this point? Like 13? 12,
I mean,
13?
We don't precisely know, but like even if you're charitably like 13, 14, like that's still because I think
Well,
the
that's not
implication-
charitable. That's a terrible age to have to go through.
No, I
something
know.
like that.
'Cause- I mean, because his argument was like, right, I would never ask your sisters because like they're still young, you know, like it's more traumatic to like
Not
separate
adult
them from
13-year-olds
not
like
adult
you, Rachel.
14-year-old,
Fair
13-year-old
point.
Rachel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just wanted to get that out there.
Honestly, for me, it was like, well, I guess I would be happy to be part of that decision-making process, but I don't know if I'm viewing that too much with my adult brain as someone whose parents have never been divorced. obviously.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I think, yeah, I think, I can see that, and I can see I think that Rachel's mom sort of
Naomi.
recognizes that element of it by being like, I'm out of it, so like
I'm
it's
Switzerland, yeah.
it's kind of up to you, kiddo.
Naomi is not Switzerland. Naomi is Rachel's mum. If she were a country, what would she be?
What's her name?
Rachel's mother,
Oh,
Naomi.
Naomi?
She's the proper Karen of the series. What's a very Karen country? Canada. Really? Canada's a Karen? No. What's a Karen country? Karen. Australia's a bit of a Karen. It didn't used to be. Oh yeah, Justin Trudeau and all that bollocks. Yeah, Canada. Canada is a Karen country. So yeah, Naomi is Canada.
Because it's like, obviously things can go south when it's like, well, no, I want you to do this, and Dad wants you to do that. So
Yeah, he did not handle it well, and that's probably why they got divorced.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, people with divorced parents out there, not to stereotype. Yeah, I don't know what y'all have been through.
It's tragic. I've never recovered.
Sorry, I know that's really tough. Yeah.
Yeah, I think her breakdown's also very realistic or like, again, I think they don't shy away from showing that, like, sort of the combination of, like,
I will just mention that we've had no author mention today, which is unusual.
like, that she's depressed and angry about everything that's happening, and that whole bit where she's staying home from school and just, like, angrily trying to look at the TV or something.
Yeah. Looking at her dad on the TV. Yeah. And the thing is, she also, I think that breakdown occurs when she has this clash of her own self-image, which is a lot based on the image that other people have of her as, like, very strong. And, you know, I think her dad even perceives her as someone who's not going to be, like, emotional and sad, but is going to be excited by the...
Rachel not emotional. That does not compute. Rachel's like the ultimate emotion. That's two fingers for something wrong. Drink.
Like a boy, because boys don't have emotions.
Boys
they never
don't
get sad.
I'm a man and I have no emotion.
The fuck? Hold on, give me 15 seconds back. What was that all about?
Going to be, like, emotional and sad, but is going to be excited by the
Like a
prospect
boy, because boys don't have emotions.
Boys
they never
don't
get sad.
I'm a man and I have no emotion.
Yeah.
Don't
I mean, it's true.
repress. Let him out. But yeah, and so even her dad has this idea, like, she's talking about how, like, I was proud even though that wasn't me. So I think she feels she has to keep up this image.
Yeah.
That she's also built into by taking everybody's perceptions, cool, beautiful, tough, strong. And then
She's a strong,
internally
woman.
she gets to the point where she loses it.
She's fed up with the stereotype of being a strong, independent woman. Do you like the fact that you married me?
Still getting used to it. I'm sure there's some, like, brain tumor growing or something and suppressing stuff.
You're blaming it on a brain tumour. Okay. I'll remember that, my dear.
Because she can't maintain that image.
No idea you're the cause of
Yeah.
it.
I'm the cause of it. I gave you a brain tumour.
They say if you repress stuff enough, you can get brain tumors.
If you repress stuff enough, you
If
get
you
brain
repress
tumours. What do you mean? What do you mean by repress something?
Try not to think about stuff.
So if you try not to think about something, you get a brain tumor.
It's an old wives' tale.
It's an old wives' tale. So what about young, youthful wives? Wives that are more down with the kids. What do they think?
Horoscopes and astrology. And...
Horoscopes and astrology. See, this is why nobody listens to women. How many fingers?
3.
3 fingers for that one. Drink and be merry.
And it's like a loss of... It's not just upset about everything, although everything is upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also just she loses her self that moment because...
If you're wondering why I'm drinking 3 fingers, I'm drinking 3 fingers for being a complete cockhead. Would that be a...
How much have you had so far?
I'm on to my almost last one.
You had some of that sugary one.
No, that's only if a cinnamon bun is mentioned. That's a very specific rule. But yeah, I drank that for being a cockhead. Isn't that right, my dear?
Yeah, that's
Hey.
exactly it.
Tiggles. No,
He wants his dinner. You haven't fed him yet.
dinner? You haven't fed him dinner?
That's your thing.
Come on, you.
It's supposed to be your thing. Give him treats and he'll forgive you.
Tiggle wiggles. I've now got a tail in my face. Good boy.
Feed him.
Don't cause me bother.
she can't match.
Have a treat.
I don't know. I'm going way out in the
Good boy.
like
Well, because it's
Jungian.
because it's like
Psychology.
it is on one level something she wants to be,
Have a
but
treat.
like, and then but yeah, it's like she feels like she can't turn it off, and like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how it feels like a loss of self. You're like, well, who am I if I?
Sorry, my dear.
We showing your audience the new cat container?
Oh. Oh, he's breaking my computer. Hold on. There we go. I think that's right. His treats were kept in this little box here. And he decided to...
Just try to destroy it and get the treat bag out, tear it open and eat half of them?
He tried to destroy it and tear the bag open, so now we put all his treats in this little jar. Isn't it precious? And it's completely flustered. He can't figure it out now. He's not that smart.
I am not.
I wouldn't know anything
this.
about that. Adulthood is great.
It's great. It's great.
It's,
Everybody.
I
Forgive me, I don't know what they're talking
recommend
about
it.
now.
10 out of 10.
Oh, I was gonna make a really dark.
Go, do
Dark
it.
jokes,
Like,
dark
adult
jokes,
animal-
dark jokes.
Adulthood's so great. It's a shame Rachel never got to
Oh,
see
God.
it.
Wait, what?
Definitely recommend it.
I want to hear the
10
dark
out of
joke.
Oh, I was gonna make a really dark.
Go, do it.
I'm like,
This is the Animorphs.
Adulthood's so great. It's a shame Rachel never got to
Oh,
see
God.
it.
That's one finger for bad joke. I'm sorry, Maddie and Lydia, but you're forcing me. You're forcing me.
Keep that in.
I was like, if I have made sure that in all
If your name isn't Medi Bollocks or Oturlu, do 20 press-ups. Or if your name's Oturlu, do 21 press-ups.
of the episode descriptions, it's made very clear that there are spoilers forever for all parts of Animorphs in these episodes. We should maybe I should start saying that at the beginning of episodes too.
You can just
Anyway.
record yourself and put a little
And Medi Bollocks do 10 squats.
warning. These episodes have spoilers.
It's like, why are you listening to an Animorphs podcast if you don't already know about Animorphs? Are there new Animorphs fans? I mean, I was one.
I will actually say, on that note, Pamela and I run the Animals Discord, and we do see some younger Animals fans, and by younger I mean Animals fans who probably weren't alive during the original print. So it is still attracting some new people. There's still a few seeping into the community, so it's not just us oldies into it these days, you know. There's still hope. Still hope.
Of them, so clearly it's possible. But
There you go. You answered your own damn question.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, so I think we could, loop back around to other racial things if they come up. But do you wanna talk about our boy?
Our boy.
Who's the
Our
boy?
beautiful boy. Well, can I put some bear facts in the middle?
Yes, bear fact time.
Bear facts. Bear facts. Bear necessities.
Bear
Bear
facts.
Okay. So, grizzly bears. There's two things that struck me in this book about the portrayal of the bear. First of all, the bear's senses. It's recurring that the idea that this bear is very nearsighted. That is not a true thing. That is a myth. Bears are not that nearsighted compared to humans. Actually, their vision is almost as good as a human, and they can even see more color than your typical carnivore. They can see like a little bit of like
We learn something new every day. I like that. Awesome.
stuff down in the red spectrum. So they're actually, their eyesight is on par with ours and much better at night.
Do you know where that myth comes from? Or,
I
like,
think it
why?
comes from people who hunt bears. So, well, because that's where I kept finding like hunting sites with this information. I'd be like, oh, cool. Oh no, that's a dead bear. All right. Yeah, because so a deer or a prey animal ungulate, they have those horizontal pupils, like a goat. And those almost give them 360 degrees of vision because their eyes are on the sides of their heads. They can cover that huge distance, But in exchange, they have less of an ability to focus on something. They more like any little movement is going to spark them to run. So that's why they're harder to hunt. Whereas a bear is more of a predator. We'll get into that, whether bears are quote unquote hyper carnivores or not.
Hyper carnivores. Right, I need a lav break, so I shall be right back. Right, I'm back. Let's carry on.
It has eyes on the front of its face like us, so it has binocular vision, which means it's very good at focusing on different objects at different lengths away, but it's not seeing all around it like the way a deer would. And they can be more focused on like smelling stuff.
They've got the zoology knowledge.
Bear's nose is their primary sense. They're very good at the smelling. And I think the nearsighted myth also comes from sometimes the bear will be paying more attention to its nose than its eyes. Like there is one account of a bear following the scent of a female bear, and the female doubled back. But instead of turning with her, the male like followed the whole like loop. But he just wasn't paying attention with his eyes.
He's gotta take some mindfulness classes.
Yeah, he was in sniff mode, not scene mode.
So
bears, they're only nearsighted in the sense that we're nearsighted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another thing. So the weight of the bear described in this book is 800 pounds. The weight of an actual grizzly bear is extremely variable. And it depends a lot on what climate they're in. Like back when California had bears in it, now they're only on flag. It's fine. Is that your bear noise?
Sure, let's say it was.
That's not what a bear sounds like.
So if they don't hibernate, their weight's going to be more stable, but if they hibernate, they're going to have extreme like feast and famine weights. So when a bear comes out of hibernation and up to the point where a bear goes back into hibernation, they can gain over like 400 pounds because they're bulking up for the hibernation. So as they were saying, 800-pound grizzly bear, and their diet also has a big effect, like on how thick we say they are. By the way, have you ever heard of the Fat Bear contest, Maddie?
I have not.
It's the best thing on earth. So this park in, I believe, Alaska, every
Would
year
be
it
Alaska.
holds like, it has a tree of bear matchups between who's the best fat bear. Because it happens in
Alaskans
October
are
when the
weird.
bears are getting ready to hibernate. So they'll show like before and after pictures of each bear, like when coming out of the den versus, and it is very dramatic, the difference. And there's some real heckin' chonkers out there. I tell you what, they're very
Wow.
cute.
Alaska has everything. The last blockbuster, the Fat
And
Bear
fat
contest.
bears. I'm gonna show you some pictures after we're done here, because
Yes.
there's such fat bears. But that got me thinking a lot about like how the fuck do morph mechanics even work? Because
Right. Well,
Right, so I'm going to count this as a something wrong. Not necessarily. Hear me out. So they've gone into this little segment saying this is something they've got wrong about bears. And they said, oh, something wrong about bears. 800 kilograms, something like that. 800 pounds. I forget the metric they were using. So implying that it was a wrong measurement, but they never got into why it was wrong. And they said it varies quite a lot. So they were wrong in saying that the book was wrong. So that's 2 fingers. Unless, I'll drink it now, but if they correct me later, I'll skip 2 fingers next time.
what weight default would you be?
yeah, obviously that's and of course that brings back like what age default would you be? Yeah, so like if you just took the DNA and were like, okay, make a creature out of this, you would create probably an embryo.
Right.
To
Yeah.
start
Why
with.
wouldn't?
Yeah,
They
why
be
would
little
it?
babbies?
So I mean, if we assume now that acquiring DNA also takes into account epigenetics, which are more related to like an animal's age and the things it's experienced in life and that could be more interesting and potentially a way to describe it. Unfortunately, I don't know a ton about epigenetics, but I do know they don't code for everything, but it's possible that they might have different tags on their genes at different ways. Anyway, morphing is a mystery.
I will say, there are parts of a chromosome called a telomere. And these tend to be the bits at the...
Nerd
You call me a nerd. Drink 2 fingers.
of my tea.
We're talking about how when you morph something, your age is decided. So if they're talking about morphing a bear, how old is the bear that you morph? At the end of chromosomes, there's a segment called the telomere. And that actually degrades as you age. It gets smaller and smaller. It just sort of dies away. And I think that's part of the aging process, because the more you age, the more these telomeres get crumbled away, essentially.
Oh,
So
dear.
maybe that's how a morph's ages decide. Because you acquire the whole DNA, and you base it on that. So you get that age of telomere. So that could probably decide it. Zoology for the win!
But yeah,
It
so
wasn't
the way
you call that cringe?
Not enough to drink, but slightly.
Not enough to drink, but slightly, okay.
the weight
I'm
of
happy with that.
bears is incredibly variable. And same with the diet of bears. So the way they describe the bear in this is like a carnivore exclusively. Like they describe it, with bloodlust and an urge to whack everything with its big meaty paws. That's very variable. Again, because bears don't conform to your society's standards. Okay, bears are unique and special. Anyway, so yeah. So a bear's diet can have as little as like 10% meat, and then the rest will be insects, berries, fruits, plants, nuts, tubers.
I like all the mustard you put on
Oh yeah.
all your line deliveries there.
Oh yeah. Because it's just fun to say like tubers. So yeah, so some bears reportedly do mostly hunt for a living, but I think the majority of brown bears, which a grizzly bear is a subspecies of this species, is called brown bear, as opposed to like black bears, polar bears. Brown bears often, at least 50% of their diet is often vegetable or insect. They actually, and when they do hunt, they tend to just grab like a fawn that they find lying in the grass or, a sick individual. They're generally not actively ambushing adult animals, with some exceptions. There's always exceptions, but generally they're more scavengers, and they also will feed on carcasses and just steal things from wolves, because it'd be like that when you're
They're
big
bloody
and chunky.
scroungers, that's what they are.
You can bully people.
Freaking grizzly bears.
But yeah,
Scroungers.
so
Living off the
just
government's
a
benefits.
few things to note about bears, and not to say that they're cute and cuddly, because again, all animals are made of anxiety. Do not approach a bear. The bear will win in whatever scenario you imagine.
But yeah, it is sort of like it's telling that clearly Applegate and Grant did enough research to
41 minutes in and we get our first author mention. One finger, drink.
be like, here's the Latin name, or here's the Latin name of the grizzly bear, and it's got terrible in it. But I'm like,
no, it's horribilis.
Oh, horrible. Sorry, I misremembered. But yeah.
No, it's okay. It's not okay. Should remember. Arctos horribilis.
Yeah. So if they figured that out, it feels like
they're pretty horrid.
Some of the
let's
other
be honest.
things
Yeah, I get. I mean, maybe it just wasn't as well documented that bears have decent eyesight back then.
Maybe
I don't
they
know.
just really wanted Rachel to have an angry grizzly bear.
I don't know, but yeah, it's a weird omission. Like even with the wolf pack dynamic thing, I was like, okay, that research was kind of new at that point.
Right, yeah.
But
it had a disseminated popular culture.
Right, I'm going to have to take a pause here. I've broken the seal. I'll be right back. Right, I'm back again. Let's carry on.
Culture,
yeah,
and what have you.
Yeah, and when she would have looked it up, I'm sure there would have been lots of old resources.
Yeah.
More so than the new stuff, because the new stuff wasn't as sexy.
Yep.
You can't have alpha, beta, omega dynamics in your weird fan fiction.
That's naughty talk as far as I'm concerned. That's two fingers.
With the new pack mentality, they're just boring nuclear families.
I like new pack, but spelled N-U, like new metal.
And with an umlaut.
New pack.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like bear eyesight is something that's been known as a myth.
Yeah, and it definitely recurs in the book. They definitely bring it up.
Oh, they bring it up all the way up till the end.
Well, to be fair to the authors, well, no, it's not being fair to the authors. They don't often get the biology right, the zoology, the anatomy, however you want to put it. They keep saying that legs snap backwards when they're morphing various different creatures. When they don't, they just... Like our foot is like that, and you've got the heel back here. It just moves up like that. It doesn't... The leg doesn't snap the other way. It's just a movement of the various joints. They never got that right, so... I mean, they're not zoologists, though. They're not anatomists, so... It's understandable that they might get some things wrong, you know.
Maybe in a weird way it was them trying to give it's the TV trope, it's like the Worf effect, where like a character who's set up is essentially nigh invulnerable or like overpowered. Like you have to find a way that they're not constantly winning. So it's like let's give Rachel's...
By the way, I think we're at the point where we're not going to end up drinking the brew dogs. It's probably going to be end up being saved for the next episode.
big attack
Just
morph
saying.
something that would.
Well, it could be
Put her
possible
at a
that that
disadvantage,
bear
yeah.
just genetically is nearsighted. Yeah. So bears, I would say, just like Maddie's relationship with the Elemis, they're complicated. And they are great adapters, especially the brown bear. They're great at adapting to different diets, different climates. Bears just do what they do, man.
Polar bears and
They
stuff.
just go out and do that bear life. God bless them.
Like, I'm a bear.
Fuck you.
I like watching a bear nose
Yeah,
swoop
because
around.
it
Yeah, I'm like, I realized no one could see what I was doing with my hands, but just look up video
I
of
like
the bear nose.
the swoop though.
Yeah.
The swoopings. Yeah, and I also like how droopy some of their jowls are. They're so droopy and like just makes me happy somehow.
Fair enough. If
Watching
whatever
them
floats you
flop
about.
their jowls around and their wiggly nose, and they're just like, it's like a big cute dog.
Yeah. Rachel be like, no!
It's very scary.
It's a very scary bear. Yeah.
Very mean.
I do like these.
I mean,
It's
don't
good
touch bears,
podcasts like
kids.
this. It's a shame
I
to
think,
stop
yeah.
Try that
before
at
they carry
home.
on.
Just watch videos of their jowls.
Yeah, that's pretty much the bear facts.
Yeah,
That's-
that's the only new morph in this
Yeah,
book.
I think so.
yeah.
Because we've done cockroaches, they do the battle morphs. It is significant that Rachel doesn't get her signature morph, which is the bear. Everyone, Rachel's the bear. She's Rachel.
Mhm.
She's a bear. Until this book, the others kind of, because initially it seemed like her morph was going to be the elephant, but I guess at some point Applegate and Grant were like, "This isn't always reasonable."
Author mention, that's one finger. Drink.
Yeah,
There's
there's
not
some
a lot of
space.
utility here.
Yeah.
In a lot of situations. So yeah, the little space constraint morph of an 800-pound bear. It's more compact.
So much more compact.
I mean, at first it's like a 2-ton elephant.
I mean, yeah, let's face it. An elephant is probably actually quite a niche morph, whereas a bear, unless you're looking at the Game Boy Color game, in which case the bear was probably the worst morph ever. Watch my playthrough of that if you want more of an idea of what's going on there. Freaking awful.
Okay, let's get into the Elemist and then get back out
Let's do it.
of him because there's a lot going on in there.
There
A lot
really
of people
is.
in there.
First question. Do we think that the Elemist shows up in this book because Crayak saw Jake in that last book?
Good question, actually.
Plot-wise or in terms of the author's intent?
I guess
I
plot-wise.
mean, I mentioned this earlier. It's funny that Crayak appears in book 6 and then straight away the Elemist appears in the next book. So let's see what these two say about that.
I'm just speculating.
I think she just planned to introduce those two at the same time.
Yeah, gotcha.
So-
yeah.
We have
Fair.
So-
the Eye of Crayak and then Elemis.
So the
But we need to remember that Crayak was never named, nor were his abilities mentioned. Jake just had a vision of him. So
someone the Catherine Applegate's Reddit AMA
author mentioned one finger.
that she did, I think it was like 7 years ago, which I've referenced a lot, and we'll always
sure
post
have.
a link to.
God bless you.
It's a font of information, but unfortunately, someone asked a question about if she had always sort of known what the origins of Elemist and Crayak were gonna be, and if she sort of knew about them playing 7-dimensional chess with each other, essentially. And unfortunately, her answer was, although again, I think an understandable answer,
Yeah.
given how many years later it is, she said, quote, "I don't recall, to tell you the truth. It's hard to retrace the steps of a thought process that long ago."
I'm only going to speak from personal experience now because I've been writing Animals fan fiction for quite a while. Big plot points like that you tend to have drilled into your head because... Right, my fan fiction, right? I've started at 55, I'm currently on 64, and I've got plans way further down the line. In my head, I know why everything is the way it is. I know what's all there, I know what character is doing what, why they're doing it, and all that sort of stuff. So the idea that Catherine Applegate, only about... Because they said 7 years ago, this was 2020, so roughly 2013 we're talking, roughly about 10, 12 years after the series, Catherine Applegate doesn't know if she knew what the Alchemist was doing by the time she wrote book 7. Personally, I find it hard to believe, but that's just me. I could, I don't know her perspective. For these things, especially such an influential character, you probably want to have a firm understanding from the get-go. You want to know what they're doing, because else it's just going to cause a world of confusion.
So, yeah, because she hasn't really said a lot about, what went into this part of the series.
We know Crayak was inspired by the Eye of Sauron.
Well, yeah, yes.
Again, it could be explained away by the fact that Catherine Applegate and Michael Grant were probably high on something when they were writing this series, which would explain a lot. And it would explain why they don't remember anything about it.
Crayak is very obviously
fucking druggies.
Modeled after Sauron, and so at first I was like, well, Ellimist doesn't really explicitly seem like to match with anything in Lord of the Rings, but him, in the form he shows the Animorphs, the fact that he has, the pointy ears and the big, long beard, I'm like, he's sort of an elf Gandalf kind of mixture in his presentation, but...
I mean, but he's like any number of characters.
It is very interesting that when I did my... what did I talk about? I think it was the Ellimist Chronicles. I said... Ellimist was doing a Holy Trinity sort of thing. I think it was in the Cassie is part of the Ellimist thing. I said, that's sort of how Christianity works. Someone came back to me and said, that's not really how it works. Again, I go back to the fact that I don't know Christianity very much. I'm not a Christian. I'm not religious. I'm technically an atheist, so my knowledge isn't that great. I still think the Ellimist has some... Because everybody knows freaking God, don't they? Not on a personal level, of course, but everybody knows the concept. So Applegate obviously knew the concept of God. Maybe she worked that into the story. I don't know. But everyone knows the freaking story of Jesus and the wise men and shit.
And these, omniscient old men always...
yeah.
Big beards. Wisdom, but they don't actually help.
Yeah, they're like, I have all the answers, maybe.
But I can't give them to you straight for reasons.
For you crude, primitive humans.
Well, I think
I know,
it's established he made those rules with Crayak. Because otherwise they were going to basically ruin the whole universe. And even though Crayak kind of wants to do that, I guess not like that.
Crayak's like, I'm a gentleman.
We'll play by a gentleman's rules.
Gentleman's rules, rule supreme. Freaking gentleman's rules make sure everything goes all right.
Yeah, okay, so I was trying... So yes, full disclosure, if no one's picked up on this by now, when I first read through the books, I sincerely disliked the Ellimist as a character, as a plot device, as a plot element, and I'm looking...
It's like a deus ex machina a lot of the time. It's like, why is he there sometimes? Why does he just pop in when it's convenient for the plot? Like, it feels very, easy. Too easy.
Yeah, and I am looking forward to rereading the Ellimist Chronicles, because...
A big positive of the Ellimist Chronicles is that it gives a pretty satisfactory answer to this question of why he interferes sometimes and not others. call it a Deus Ex Machina, call it plot convenience, but it's very sci-fi, and they did a good job of giving that explanation. Whether it's plot convenience or not, they still made it entertaining, so I think they did a good job with that.
I do think that his sort of origins are interesting, but I was also kind of not. I think I was not in the right headspace reading it, and
Well,
in so
it's
much
a weird. It's a
that I read it after the last book. I mean, which makes sense, but it was also like I was still stinging and suffering.
You read it after the last
Yeah,
book,
you were
that's the
still
wrong place to
crying.
read it.
Yeah.
And the Elements Chronicles also isn't really like, it's different from the other books in that it's not like a light, easy read.
Yeah.
You know,
Very
heavy.
like there's a lot to
cosmological.
like. Yeah, it's got a lot of bigger, not a lot of like actual action, and more a lot of, thought experiments.
Yeah.
And things you have to try and imagine that you have no reference for.
Yeah, and but so I reading this book, I was trying to just like, okay, well, let me just try to put my mindset and like, I don't know anything about the Elemist, and like, how do I feel about him sort of as he appears in this book. Yeah, he definitely is not like someone very easy to like in his first appearance. I don't know, he's so, one could argue it's like what I'm reading maybe as him coming off as somewhat like smug and superior is because he is literally like a higher being, higher power.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, of course. So when he's saying humans are crude and primitive, he says crude and primitive, but like, forget what the but is. It's like, but capable of understanding. And it's like, so it's obviously not an insult, but
he also is like, wow, a humble Andalite. Like, buddy, look at yourself. Wow, a humble Elemist.
I know, like, yeah, it's like, so yeah, like, I could read it on the one hand of like, it's not, there's no malice. In fact, he's very like invested in interested in humanity and Earth. Yeah, he's just such a little. He's just such a little prankster.
He's annoying.
Yeah.
But I think as a kid, I didn't really have a problem with him.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
As a kid, you don't look too much
exactly.
into these things, to
Go
be
ahead.
fair.
So yeah, that was interesting because I was sort of I was trying to gauge.
Once again, I've broken the seal. I need to go to the lavatory again. Is that cringe? It is cringe. Okay, be right back. Right, so back again. I've well and truly broken the seal. Let's go.
Again, like, yeah, people can
Not much
weigh
left,
in.
by
Like,
the
I was
way.
trying to look like, what is the, like, is there sort of
About
a
4
general
fingers?
fandom like opinion of the Elemist? Like, do some people hate it? Do some people like? And yeah, it didn't. I mean, I couldn't really. So in a good way, it seems like everyone kind of has various opinions, which is great. I love it when things are like people have different interpretations.
It's
of
complicated.
More important question is, how do people think? What do people think of the Chi? I can't freaking speak. What do people think of the Chi? Those traitorous bastards.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there isn't really. So yeah, I was like, at the same time, I was trying to see like what I was trying to look up, like if Catherine Applegate ever really said more about the Elemist, which she didn't really, which is fine, and which is also probably why everyone kind of has their own take on Krayak and the Elemist and what have you. Because yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely people who are like, it's super annoying and super convenient. But again, you're right that I wonder how many of them are just coming at it with like, I'm an adult fan of the series now and sort of like looking at it that way.
Because as a kid, I think more so than it ever bothering me, it was more me thinking, well, the Elemist books are either very sad or boring. And I wish that all books were full of fun oatmeal jokes and adventure.
Cringe.
You know?
Yeah.
I think
Oatmeal,
that was my perception. I was like, oh boy, here we go again.
This
because
got
a lot
some
of them
good bits in it, but yeah, good funny bits. I mean,
Yeah.
I got some quotes later, but
yeah, a lot of the Elemist books just feel very one-off, especially like when you get into like the Megamorphs, but also like a lot of it is whoops, we're jaguars now in the middle of the jungle, and now we'll never use the
That wasn't right. Is that that's Time Matrix, which was created by the Elmist? Or let's see what they say about this.
jaguar morph again. Whoops, dinosaurs are extinct. You can't morph them anymore. Because that's how DNA works.
Whoops.
Whoopsie doodle. But yeah, so time travel has never been one of my favorite tropes. Although I do like some of the ways this book uses it, especially.
Wait, hold on. So, you talk about the Elmist, and then you bring up the Forgotten as an example of the Elmist work, and Megamorphs 2. Sario rips. Is that an Elmist thing? No. Not directly, for sure. So that's not really an Elmist thing. So why you're bringing up, is there something wrong, which is 2 fingers. Drink. We're nearly at the end now. Drink. I've got 1 finger left.
Well, we'll get there in the Megamorphs. But,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and I just remember being so sad about seeing that future and so upset about Tobias and just, this guy's a downer. Like, and then you have that
Yeah.
that point where, I don't remember exactly how it goes down, but there's a book where Jake like wakes up in his future body as a
41.
controller.
No.
Oh,
or
yeah.
as he's supposed to be a controller, but he's in control of himself. I did like the cool new aliens we got introduced to in that book, the transparent ones.
Oof.
They're just aliens with all of their organs clearly visible.
I like that.
I'm
It's a
like,
good design.
I dig it. It's not at all a good design, but
No, it's a good design for me
Yeah, fair
as
enough.
visualizing
I
it.
can't remember if they did that for a reason or if they were just like that. I don't know. Anyway,
Great book.
but I didn't like to be sad.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to look at it too. Of like, yeah, it's sort of, that's the whole point, is that he tends to only intervene in like, here's like one hopeless situation and maybe
here's
a less
another
hopeless
one.
outcome, but like still kind of hopeless. Yeah. And I guess I'm trying to think of like which of the characters that I feel like I'm most aligned with. I mean, honestly, like Axe's initial assessment of the elements is like, he just says he can't intervene, but he can do whatever he wants, which is like is not strictly true, but like definitely how I felt reading it. And
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess like maybe I align with Jake in that way. Of the Jake is a very sort of classical like, I believe in my own free will, and I'm very angry at anything that like would suggest other
I am
lies.
Jake. You is not Jake.
Jake is too cool for
I
school.
am leader Jake, Prince Jake,
Friend Jake.
But
Yeah.
I was gonna say that the bad future as described in this book feels to me, but again, I have no confirmation of this. Felt this specific future that they encounter felt very like influenced by like the Terminator movies, and I just the imagery of it, the way they were like going around the
I'm
school
picking
and
up
the
what you're putting
skeletons.
down.
Yeah, and like
skeleton, I forgot.
yeah,
That's
that's
a
like
90s
that's what did it
reference.
for
I've
me
never
was,
actually seen the
that part
Terminator
in
films,
T2
honestly.
Judgment Day, where it's like you're seeing the initial attack from Skynet, and then you're just seeing everyone get eviscerated and their skeletons sort of where they are. It was feeling very
God.
that way to me.
That's how it works, kids.
Which feels like an appropriate nod because also it's a series with wooey time travel stuff in it, but
Yeah. But yeah, that I did like the little taxon hive they turned the school into, though. I thought, okay, so there's some like taxon
They're taking care of the
Culture.
taxons a little bit, but
Well, no, I mean we get to see like how taxons live for like the first time,
right, right.
and whether they're making, I guess they're making it a
What are they talking
simulation
about
of the living hive that they live in
Alice
our planet,
Chronicles.
or what.
And like
I don't know. The
Chronicles.
living hive is still very
Sorry,
vague
I'm
to me
drunk.
as to what that
You haven't
is,
already
and
noticed.
whether it's an actual creature, if it's a combination of all the Yeah.
But
We'll
you're
go
right.
in-
I did have a note where I was like, ask Lydia about taxons.
I will answer. Yeah, so that was fun. And yeah, so it does mirror their quote unquote natural behavior, tunneling. And it's interesting because there's a few books where we do talk about like what great tunnelers they are. But it's not utilized much. And they're also great swimmers, which is weird because again, there was like no water on their planet.
I will say it's probably utilised most in book 43, The Test.
Yeah, that's a great mystery. I was
And
like,
what
why
do
can't
they-
swim?
Yeah, well, what do they even eat? There's
Soil.
like nothing
On their
there.
home planet, or you mean
Yeah.
like in the
Just
On their
anything.
home planet. Like, we're
Whatever's
never
in the
given
way.
any other like species on the planet. But yeah. Anyway, that aside, I love taxons. That aside,
Never put that aside.
I know.
That's
Take it back.
always at the forefront.
I also thought of this future as one from not from this particular timeline. It was plucked from a different one because again,
right, yeah.
Axe was in this one where he wasn't in the other one. So it didn't even, I think it wasn't even tailored to their own future.
Right.
But he obviously did that to leave them a big fucking hint. Giant stinking hint right in the middle.
That's what he does. We've
Yeah, he does
learned in
that.
this book.
But it's like
Oh,
you
bless
went
me.
through the elaborate ass setting up of this, picking like this specific future, giving them less specific angle, and
Oh,
you
Jesus
just,
Christ.
you
How can you
just
get
get
hay
away
fever
with
at
it. Also,
11
demorphing
at
in
night?
that food court out of the taxon. How did they get away with it? As I was reading this, I was like,
Fucking
no,
hell.
no, how? And then at one point, it's like we were
probably
covered in
charged by looking at me
taxon
that
fluids.
softly.
They didn't know what we were.
It's
But I
fine.
feel like they could tell the shape.
Right, I'm gonna call it at that. Fuck, I'm getting a hay fever attack now, so we'll call it at that. That was really good. So we got through an hour. I've got one finger left. I'll drink it. 2 Centipedes and Slugs. Awesome podcast. This is for you. I really rather enjoyed that. Good chemistry. It's a shame that you finished after 8 episodes, but who knows? Maybe you'll start again. Who knows? I really did quite dig that. Thank you very much for watching. And yeah, leave your suggestions for what you want me to watch next time. And I'll get over that. We still haven't done this. Anytime a cinnamon bun is mentioned by a podcast, the wild beer is activated. It's still yet to be activated, strangely enough. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to go lie down. For whatever reason, today it's just affecting me more than usual. It's not even that... It's not too strong. It's an average British beer, which means the strongest American beer imaginable, I imagine. But yeah. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to go to bed. Thank you very much. Whatever. Centipedes and Slugs. I'll leave the link in the description. Go check them out. It's been fun. I shall see you next time. Ta-ra.